Hey everybody, I cannot trust book reviews. Alright, in order to understand the concept of trusting book reviews, let's talk a little about what each word means right now, because this was not always a thing. Book reviews were not always,
"This is so bad I can't even finish it,"
or "This is the best or worst work I've ever read." In this video, I'll talk about 7 ideas that come to mind regarding why we don't trust book reviews and what we can do for ourselves to change that, or just weed out those reviews that are just bleh. You know, they're just bleh. They make you want to bleh so bad you'll never even want to bleh again. But the best words to describe all 3 of these, trust, book, and reviews, is heavy. One could argue they all hold more significance now than ever, and here's how. Trust is a heavy word right now. We just had the elections in 2020. People relied so heavily on news sources and media outlets that we had what some called an infodemic. And when I typed out the word infodemic, it didn't even come with that red squiggly misspelled "this is not a word, Sam, go back to school" underline that you see on Google Docs. And let's face it, AI isn't making anything easier. A lot of content on social media with AI in it doesn't even disclose it. YouTube encourages creators now when they upload content to disclose when there's AI in it. We got large companies with massive data breaches. Once or twice a year, Congress or the Senate might have a hearing with big tech CEOs about privacy issues, and they're painful to watch too, aren't they? The internet is crawling with people who will take trust and break it at the tap of a screen. And to prevent that from happening, until and maybe even after preventative regulations are put in place, we are left to our own senses of judgment to determine whether or not something's worth that risk. Books are a heavy word right now too. Books are helpful for obtaining knowledge, enhancing your brain health, stress relief, building your senses of imagination and creativity, and just rekindling that innate, wide-eyed, childlike wonder that we all had growing up. Countries with dictatorships, they have censored specific books in their schools, and books in general, limiting a child's self-education. From the CEOs of megalithic corporations to the leaders of our most powerful nations, how many would not consider books important in shaping the future of a society and culture? Probably not a lot, if I had to guess, but a lot of people probably don't talk about it either. If there are any at all, I would love to see that list in 50 to 100 years from now. And lastly, reviews are a heavy word right now. The barrier to entry for reviewing something is so low that literally basically anyone can do it. All you need for most mainstream outlets online is at the minimum an email address and maybe a camera, and anyone can see it too. You don't have to pass some sort of a test, you don't need any certifications, and there are people making money on these reviews, by the way. A lot of people do affiliate marketing, including myself, where you can get paid when someone buys something through the unique affiliate link of your review. Amazon is known for doing this, but smaller companies do it too. Companies send influencers thousands of dollars and free stuff to review their products. They'll send them free pre-release products well before consumers even have access to them. We're incentivized to write reviews as everyday individuals. Online retailers, I think Shein does this, will give you discounts and stuff if you write reviews of their product, but this incentivization can skew your ability to write with a clear head, and products can sell out extremely fast when just a few big name personalities post online about them. How else are those products supposed to effectively be advertised today? There are other ways, I'm sure, but it seems to be almost like a go-to method. So that's the importance of trusting book reviews. But let's talk about actually doing it and actually not doing it. But first, just a disclaimer, I have reviewed 350 nonfiction books all on this channel. If you're watching this and you're like, this guy seems untrustworthy now, watch more of my videos and anyone's videos that you might feel that way about, and you may notice yourself trusting more of what they have to say. Chances are you might relate to it or resonate with it or understand it because it makes you feel understood. But I know I review books, and I know I may sound like I'm contradicting myself by making this video. Just writing it, I thought anyone could easily use this video to pick apart my reviews, and it would make sense as to why some are more trustworthy than others. But for me, overall, this video was about improving my craft and increasing self-awareness. For you, I made it for general awareness. Number 1. Don't trust everything you read on every site you visit. People say all the time not to believe everything you read on the internet. In October, there was this extremely rare comment called the A3. I'm not very well informed about stuff like that. I get a text from my mom saying, "Oh my gosh, look at this comment," telling me where I can see it, and I run around like a lunatic, freaking out about a comet that'll appear coming from the west in 30 minutes after sunset. I go outside as it gets dark, and I see it, and this guy goes up to me.
"How do you even know that that's real. It's just a star.
And I'm like, well, I heard about it online. My mom texted me about it and all that stuff. And
well, that doesn't mean that it's true. Don't believe everything you see online.
And later used a reputable space screening app or whatever to look, and the comet was right there where I thought it was. Name included. How do you know it isn't the comet? You know how much stuff is out there about this comet? I didn't see or hear any controversial claims about its existence either. There were no other stars out, by the way, and it was a clear night because you could clearly see the full moon. Misinformation is rampant, especially today. Do the terms fake news and fact checker also sound familiar? A review may bring up irrelevant information that you don't need to know and do not care about, like the A3 comet that's allegedly only visible to the naked eyes of Earthlings every 80,000 plus years. Number 2, don't trust short analyses. I've made videos reacting to negative reviews of my favorite books, and they can be pretty ridiculous. But I'll admit even my reactions can include bias or pushback. What I notice about these reviews, I find them on Audible and Amazon, is that a lot of them are extremely short, which means if a review has a problem with a book or it's very positive but it's just short, it's likely missing important examples that can really validate to the reader or viewer whatever opinions it might express. Just take this review as an example, or this one, or this one, or this one. Like, why? I need examples, people. Number 3, consider bias. Speaking of bias, if a book review is missing objectivity, or at least the ability to consider a balanced perspective, it's not exactly the best look. And I feel like the reason for this is that open-mindedness is reputably something you can gain from reading, so when you see that one-sided thinking, it can come off as counterintuitive and inconsiderate or even ignorant. And that may sound a little bit meta, but I think at its core it makes some sense. Now, as a reviewer, by considering both sides of a coin, you're at least giving some benefit of the doubt to opposing viewpoints, making you look more credible, more objective, less biased, and this builds trust with people who are and are not well informed. In turn, number 4, check out multiple reviews. This can offer you that balanced perspective we were just discussing before checking a book out. If you have reasons you trust as to why you would or wouldn't check a book out after doing this, you can weigh those out, take the plunge, and see what you think. If you're looking up something important online, I'm gonna guess that you probably usually look at least a few different sources just to confirm it, right? Just to make sure that the chance of you misinforming is not as high. It might surprise you, but it shouldn't have to in the wrong way.
And sometimes it does. But you shouldn't let that deter you overall. But let's try to minimize it as much as we can.
Okay? Number 5, pay attention to what makes the reviewer tick. I've seen reviews where the writer will really zone in on one specific thing that just drives them nuts, and they'll spend more of the review discussing it than anything else. It just reeks of bias. I wouldn't say the world is asking for a life story or anything, but at least understanding why it bothers them or where they're coming from could help ease that friction of understanding between a reviewer and consumer. Otherwise, this can only be taken so far, and it can be a bit of a dicey move. It's not very demure, it's not very clean, and it lacks that balance that we were talking about. And I hope you can see that all of these sort of blend into each other as like a blueprint or foundation in what might be wise to trust and not to trust in a book review. Number 6, trust reviews with disclaimers. A review with a disclaimer will give you a reason to take what the reviewer says with a grain of salt, acknowledging that they don't know what they don't know. By doing this, the reviewer is putting themselves out there. Disclaimers simply give people a reason to trust you because they are transparent and they give you a freedom to provide yourself an explanation as to why you might hear something that would otherwise make you tilt your head and think,
what the who?
And lastly, number 7, trust your gut. When I was like 16 or something, a guy told me something that I'll never forget. Listen to your gut. It's right 9 times out of 10. This advice steers me wrong maybe 1 time out of 10. And I don't really think that math adds up, but in all seriousness, again, not every book review is perfect. After all, they are written by human beings, hopefully, and it may take time to shape that skill of seeking out reviews as well that you can trust consistently, but I hope this video has served as a fair guide for doing that. If you might agree that it does, please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already to see similar videos to this one, and if you want to turn it up just a notch and hit that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.